I've experienced a shift in perspective, a catharsis, an epiphany. I am purging pity and fear. I see now what I've been missing, and it's been me the whole time. I've been searching for the answer to a question I couldn't phrase, and the whole time the answer was me. The question was also me. I am the Alpha and the Omega. It all begins with me as it concerns my life. The be-all and end-all is me. I was caught up and confused by my choices. I needed to learn the lesson and see the point so I could let it go and move on. I couldn't understand why I was so tore up about someone who treated me so terribly. But I forgot to realize the lesson was me. The point was me. The student was me. The teacher was also me. Everyone is just a partner, fellow humans on their own confused but benevolent journeys. This is something I keep forgetting, which is ironic since we used to have a section on the podcast called The Dojo. I keep forgetting because I only knew it in theory. The seed was there, but it hadn't yet sprouted. I am enough. I have all that I need to succeed at life, because the point of life is me. I've been enlightened, awakened, saved, set free from my own cloudy perspective. Welcome to Real Talk with Mark West, a podcast about owning your shit and playing through life.
I do what I want. If people would just accept that, we could get along. Come for me if you want to. I ain't scared. Shit, I bike in Chicago. I feel like I'm Neo in the Matrix, but I suck at it. I'm dodging right into the bullets, you know?
This is good therapy.
I'm your host, Mark West.
A dojo is a miniature cosmos where we make contact with ourselves, our fears, anxieties, reactions, and habits. It is an arena of confined conflict where we confront an opponent who is not an opponent, but rather a partner engaged in helping us understand ourselves more fully.
Hey there, friend. How's it going? Welcome. Thank you for taking time to tune in to Real Talk with Mark West, where we're trying to have better conversations with ourselves so we can have better conversations with others. I need you to bear with me today because I have been in the dojo all week. I've been battling myself. I have been coming face to face with my fears, habits, and anxieties, and I finally got a good look at myself. And I have to say, she cute. Last week we talked about understanding you, and if you haven't had a chance to give that one a listen, please pause this and give that a spin, because this one's going to make a lot more sense if you've heard part 1. But last week I asked you to make an emotional me list, if you felt like it. What did you learn? What is your currency? To be honest, doing this for myself was rather difficult. I was embarrassed. Like, why didn't I already know these things about myself? I was getting a little mad at myself and had to start letting that go. It was the shame of not knowing myself. And I've been me my whole life. I realized how necessary these kinds of questions are to ask ourselves. They are key to understanding you and your needs. After a bit, the fear and anxiety left, and I felt calm. I felt safe with myself. I wanted to take a deeper dive into this idea of emotional currency and broaden my vocabulary, and it was really reminding me a lot of how I would build a character for a show, in which you would study ways in which they talk about themselves, ways in which they talk about others, ways in which others talk about them, in order to understand how they think and feel in a situation. And so in school, the important thing was that we had an emotional literacy in order to say how we felt, in order to understand how our character might feel. And when it came to my emotional currency, I understood that time, while I connected with that idea, I felt as though there was something to it. There's got to be a deeper layer than just time. Because that is the one thing that I'm most disconnected and connected with. I am constantly aware of how much time I'm losing, and I'm so bad at managing my time. So there has to be something underneath it, because if it's an emotional need, I personally feel like it should be a driver also. At the beginning of the month, on my daily podcast, My Wake Up Call, I worked through the acronym RAIN, a method for introducing compassion to difficult situations, taught by psychologist and Buddhist teacher Tara Brach. I needed to find a better way to process and understand my emotions, and I appreciated how simple but effective this method was, and also how similar it was to acting and building a character. It gave me context for the work I've been doing. I want to change the energy I'm putting out. I want to vibrate at a different frequency and attract a different kind of energy. I've been tuned into the same channel for years, and I'm tired of listening. I'm ready for something else, but I don't understand the internal struggle that takes place whenever I try to turn the dial. When I try to tune into new frequencies and discover something new, my anxiety and fear pulls me back to the presets, what I'm familiar with. It doesn't make me happy, and it's definitely not what I want, but it's what I know. Why can't I get my spirit and energy and will to align with what I want for myself? What am I missing? It seems foolish and kind of obvious, but I'm missing myself. Where do these feelings come from? Where in my past did I pick up a false lesson? But I realized it doesn't really matter. While I'm time traveling to the past to find something or someone to blame for my situation, the real issue is in the here and now being ignored. The concern isn't what happened to make things this way, but the concern is simply how I'm feeling in this moment. I did not fully understand my needs, wants, and feelings. I'm so detached from myself that I didn't even know how to begin to ask myself what I need. I watched a video of Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk who died recently, and he said, "Inside everyone is a wounded child. And when you pay attention to yourself, when you retreat to the island of self, it's like coming home to that wounded child and saying, 'It's okay, I'm here,' and embracing them. It's self-soothing when I feel safe with myself. I used to be so afraid of castigation and judgment and shame from others if I made a mistake or didn't live up that I was overflowing with anxiety in every moment, even when engaged in something I love, like acting. I see now, the one I was afraid of was myself and how I was treating myself. I had no clue how much my feelings about myself and my motivation are inspired by how I treat myself, not by how anybody else treats me or how I was treated in the past. but how I treat myself right now. I grew up in a deeply religious household. My parents are both leaders of a church, and my older brother is an ordained minister. The lack of emotional literacy within the Christian church can easily lead to emotional neglect. It's the same thing we see in broader society. Faith has become a magic trick, just like self-care. Not criticizing, it's just different forms of toxic positivity, but it's all emotional avoidance. I honestly thought my needs were taken care of. Food, shelter, water, clothing optional. I was trying so hard to succeed at life, chasing this elusive happiness, and I now see what they all mean. I felt myself needing permission, but I didn't know what for. I was waiting for permission to love myself. I was waiting for permission to take care of myself first, to take care of my inner wounded child. Honestly, outside of what I can do for you, I had no real idea what I have to offer anyone, not even myself. Growing up, there was a strange rejection of self, especially being a pastor's kid. Nothing about my needs were seen as important. We had to appear strong for them, or else their faith will fail, which had everything to do with them in the first place. But even as an adult living on my own back home, it felt like I couldn't make a move without someone seeing and reporting back. Someone could cut me off in traffic, and the one time I blow up and scream and fly the bird, that's when I'm getting calls and texts from random numbers with a word to bring me back to the Lord. And don't let there be liquor on the conveyor at the grocery store. They can be human, but I can't. And by the time I got away and tried to be me, Mark was already severely wounded and bitter and scared and angry. And that made sense to no one because on the outside looking in, everything's fine. I look great on paper. I'm shuffling along like a good little Negro and making strides, so what's the problem? I'm not doing it for me. I'm not living the life I want fully. Partly because I don't fully know what I want, and because I'm sick of people's mouths and really wanted to shut them up. Whenever I have a problem, I'm bright-sided by someone projecting their own unhappiness onto my situation. Mark, you have this and I don't. Why are you unhappy? Mark, you just did this. I never would have dreamed of doing something like that. Now you're nervous? You're doubting? You need to get over that, because that's dumb. I've been living a life to avoid disappointing others, instead of living my life for me. What do I need? What is my currency? If I don't know, I can't be mad when people approach me with a different currency. I'm accepting the kind of treatment and love I do not deserve because I haven't yet defined for me what it is I want and deserve, separate from what I've historically been given. I had no vocabulary for what I deserve, so I couldn't ask for it from others. I also hadn't shown it to myself, so I couldn't recognize it when I did get it from others. When my wounded child needed attention, I'd become annoyed. And when I think of it like that, it makes me kind of sad. The things I say to my inner child. I was a cute fucking kid. Obviously, I'm not too bad looking now, but when I view my inner self as that same pure, innocent child who's just been severely misused, neglected, abused, and wounded. 6-year-old Mark, just scared and needing comfort. And I respond to myself with, why do you feel this way? This is stupid. You shouldn't be so worked up. You do this all the time. You're so dumb. Stop complaining and get the fuck out of your feelings. Get over it. You're so fucking soft. I hate you. It doesn't make me feel good at all about how I'm treating myself. I know it affects how I relate to other people. I need to set the bar first. Inside everyone is a wounded child. I believe that for me 100%. I know what I've been through, the many challenges. Any one of them is no small feat. And I made it. I'm still here. I need to be more particular about who I allow to have access to me. I need to raise the bar on what it costs to be in my space and access my energy. Nothing is worth my peace of mind. But first, I really need to change how I treat myself. I'm used to asking what I need less of when I'm feeling overwhelmed. There are plenty of things I do not have time for. But what is it that I do have time for? What is it I'm trying to attract? So I did some digging into better ways to understand and identify my needs. And I found an incredibly helpful needs list that was meant to serve as a starting point and covered a range of needs from emotional, like acceptance and appreciation, and even physical, like movement, air, water. Using this list as a guide, I made my own needs list so I can start getting more intentional about meeting my needs and making sure my needs are being met. I wrote down my emotional needs that I'm going to share with you. I skipped the physical just for today, but we'll definitely be coming back to that. My needs, my currency, the energy I strive to put out and what I'm looking to attract from the world is appreciation, communication, closeness, safety, authenticity, presence, humor, beauty, inspiration, independence, space, spontaneity, self-expression, creativity, growth, celebration of life, stimulation, clarity. These are the things that feed me and make me feel centered and content. Now, using this list, what things do I need more of in my life? I've cut plenty of toxic and unhealthy things out of my life, but I never replaced them with healthy and fulfilling things. So even with less stressors, I still feel burnt out, lost, disconnected. So now that I have room, it's time to start filling my life with things that fill me. I made my currency list based on what I'd already been doing, so I wanted to use my needs list to help me identify the things I want to take in and add to my life. When I go over my currency list or even my weekly to-do list and identify the emotional need it fills and the way it satisfies me, I can align my energy, spirit, and will to work together to achieve a goal. Cleaning my apartment is something I can do to show myself appreciation for the work I do to afford and maintain my space. I keep it clean to tell future me, thank you. I appreciate you and your hard work. Taking care of my plants is how I celebrate life in any form. It feeds me emotionally and helps me further appreciate my own life, which these plants are dependent upon. My cat offers me humor, beauty, spontaneity, and plenty of stimulation. It's rarely a dull moment with this guy. This podcast offers growth, communication, closeness, and self-expression. When I am aware of my needs and what gives me life, I'm able to make conscious decisions about what I want with confidence. Now I have to ask myself, how do I know when I've gotten it from others? That's a question I took from acting. Your character has a need or intention they're working towards. How will you know when your character has gotten what they want from the other person? What will the other person do, say, or become to let you know you got what you want? I asked myself that for each of my needs and wrote down my answers so I knew what to look for. For instance, when I feel appreciated by others, they will tell me straight. They will do something with the intention of showing appreciation. They'll become calm, happy, and most of all, pleasant. When I have communication with others, they take time to understand my point and don't simply respond to have something to say. They listen to understand, not to respond. They communicate honestly about their needs, wants, and desires, and are always in a position to have healthy dialogue rather than spirited debate or arguments. They don't become intimidated by my viewpoint and can respect a differing opinion without fully understanding it. Feelings, thoughts, and impulses are shared, so there is understanding of who the person is, rather than simply what they're saying. My wounded child needed a friend, and that friend was me. I need to start focusing on how I want to feel, rather than how I do feel. I see now why I attract people who don't fill my needs or with nothing to offer. Because I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know what I need. I don't need you to love me. I don't need you to like me. I need you to appreciate me, inspire me, communicate with me, be authentic, be present, be humorous, be creative, be spontaneous, grow with me, celebrate life, be you. But most importantly, let me be me. Invest what you want to get out. Remember how it feels when these needs are met. I can't control the way people choose to live their lives. I can't dictate the kind of energy people choose to put into the world. All I can do is control myself and what I put out. I've been grasping at straws like the next person. I've been angry and confused and taking it out on whatever and whoever annoys me in the moment. But I no longer want that to be my default setting. My contribution to the chaos and panic that seems to be governing our world is to continue to put out my own positive energy. It's all I honestly know how to do. My act of revolution. It doesn't mean I don't set boundaries and have viewpoints or stand up for what I believe. It means I don't let my default setting be judgment, anger, hate, or any other negative intention. We've all had enough of that. The best way to ensure I'm putting out positive energy is to make sure I'm taking care of my needs. I said we'd be doing more with that list this week, so let's try something. Think of one person you're close with who means a lot to you. It can be a spouse, partner, sibling, friend. Just pick someone. Once you have them in your mind, ask yourself, what is their currency? Not what you think it is or want it to be. What is their own actual currency? Have you ever thought about it? What feeds their soul? What can bring a smile to their face every time? Think about it for a sec. It's convenient to believe our currency is someone else's also. But what if it's not? We all don't have the same needs. Take this list from last week and apply it to someone you want to sow into or build a stronger connection with. Someone you truly want to relate to, but maybe haven't quite figured out how. What's the missing piece? You don't have to go to great lengths and make huge sacrifices and grand gestures in order to show your devotion to someone, unless you want to. All you really have to do is listen closely. They'll tell you what they need, their actions, their demeanor, how they respond. And if all else fails, just ask. Hey, random question. What fills you up? I'd really like to know. How many people have asked you that question? How many people do you wish would? It'd make life so much easier. Give it a shot. And let's talk about it next week. If you would like to try the same process I took on your me list, I will make the lists and resources I use available on my website. I'll leave the direct link in the description. At the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned the RAIN method by Tara Brach, which I talk about in my daily wake-up calls, offered exclusively through my Patreon. Because of how extremely helpful it was, I am making those 5 episodes available wherever you stream your podcasts, releasing them one day at a time over the course of this week. I just introduced the first letter, R, today, which is to recognize. That link for my wake-up call will also be in the description. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. I really hope you give it a listen. It helped me so much this past month get to the place where I am right now. What do you think about all this? What have you come up with after reviewing your list or hearing this podcast? Until next week, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you got something out of it, please leave a review and, of course, share this episode with a friend. It takes just a couple seconds, but the impact is immeasurable as every little bit helps in growing awareness. To find more episodes or to talk back to me about your journey, visit heymarkwest.com. There you'll find my social media links, my Patreon, as well as additional resources for support. I'm Mark West, and until next time, don't forget, you are a rock star. You've got this. Join me next week for Real Talk with Mark West.